For centuries, we dreamt of flight. But only in the last 120 years have we truly soared. Modern aviation has revolutionized global connectivity, economic growth, cultural exchange, humanitarian aid, and access to remote regions. For the last 100 years, one firm has been the trusted advisor to the aviation industry, at the forefront of legal developments in one of the most regulated global industries with the highest standards of safety.
At Clyde Co, it's not just about the partners and associates, it's about the entire team, a team that is steeped in aviation history. Amongst us are cabin crew members for major airlines, pilots, veterans, former government regulators, and aerospace engineers. I am proud to call these people not only colleagues, but to call them friends.
In 1903, the Wright brothers launched powered aviation. By 1911, aviation insurance had already taken flight, written by underwriters at Lloyd's of London. In 1914, war gave aviation a different purpose. Engineers and designers now focused on military innovation. War forced insurers and legal minds to define war risk, a legacy that continues today in almost every flight policy.
When aviation started, it was not much technology involved. It was small aircraft carrying wealthy people across long distances, and you were completely reliant on the excellence of the metal that you were flying in and the people in the cockpit who were flying the aircraft. Beaumont Son was founded in 1836, and it clearly wasn't practicing aviation law then. But in 1924, the then name partner, Major Beaumont, was called out to an accident at a fledgling airport called Croydon, involved an Imperial Airways aircraft where sadly 8 people lost their lives. Major Beaumont had a wonderful career as a leading aviation lawyer, amongst many other things, as well as being part of the International Civil Aviation Organization and the International Air Transport Association. So the history came from the experience, and the experience led to the excellence that we have now.
Then came World War II, a new wave of complexity, technology and risk. Fighters, bombers and reconnaissance aircraft dominated the skies. I was there in 1985 when Arthur Robert, an early Wellington bomber from World War II, was pulled from Loch Ness. That aircraft now sits in Brookton's museum. I still visit it regularly with my teenage boys. I've been involved in a number of other projects as well, involving the rebuild of heritage aircraft, including a Spitfire. So for me, it's my professional life, but it's also my personal passion as well.
My grandfather was in the British Navy actually, and was an aeronautical engineer and helped develop the landing system for fighters to land on air carriers.
Dad was part of the greatest generation. He was in World War II. He was flying in L2, one of these small high-wing aircraft that would have to go over enemy lines and figure out where they needed to redirect their artillery shells.
Women flew military planes. The Tuskegee pilots fought prejudice and war. The war's end brought the jet age. In 1978, US deregulation changed the game. Clyde Co expanded with the industry, advising carriers and airports adapting to new legal realities. With the 1980s came even more advanced airliners and an increase in complex claims, product liability, airport negligence, and cases which demanded global expertise. With crashes and terrorism, there were tragic consequences.
I started with the Office of President-elect as a senior advisor. That was 3 days, though, after Lockerbie, the tragic downing of Pan Am 103. So I began as a chairman of a task force in aviation security and intelligence, working with MI6, the BKA, and Germany, balancing law enforcement intelligence with empathy for the families, finding out what was wrong, how to prevent a reoccurrence. Was a bit of a heady task for a 26-year-old kid, but I was very blessed to have that opportunity and experience.
Over the next decade, there was a rapid expansion of international air travel, especially in Asia and the Middle East. This period also saw the growth of hub-and-spoke networks, driven by major carriers. Then, in 2001, aviation faced its greatest test, and to come through it required individuals with the right training to remain calm.
For me, practicing aviation law is truly the culmination of a full life's work in the field of aviation. Started off as a military pilot, flew in the United States Marines for 12 years, first in fixed wing. Then I started flying helicopters, truly fell in love with helicopters. Then I had the opportunity to transition from that and go fly for the White House for President George W. Bush and Vice President Cheney.
And we have unconfirmed reports this morning that a plane has crashed into one of the towers of the World Trade Center.
And I was there during 9/11, day of, and my role on 9/11 was when President George W. Bush came back to DC, the US government and the White House decided they didn't want co-location of the president and the vice president. So it was incumbent for security reasons to get Vice President Cheney out of town. And that was my role, was to escort Vice President Cheney away from Washington, D.C.
After 9/11, aviation insurance and legal frameworks were under tremendous pressure. Clyde Co helped insurers interpret exclusion clauses and government-backed coverage like the Terrorism Risk Insurance Act. Technology advances rapidly, and we see the next generation of aircraft. There is also the expansion of low-cost airlines beyond North America and Europe. Clyde Co continues to build an international team with a deep and broad level of experience.
We have a lot of people who've worked in the industry, and that helps understand our clients' business. If I don't know the answer to something, which is quite often, I know there'll be an oracle I can consult that will provide me with the answer.
There are a lot of lawyers, aviation lawyers in Clyde Co who have in-house experience, and I'm one of them. I used to work for Emirates, where I delivered probably over 100 aircraft while I was there. And still, when I get on an aircraft now, I check out the registration mark of the aircraft to see if it's one of the aircraft I worked on.
And my father was also an engineer. He worked on satellites. And so naturally, I first became an aerospace engineer also. And I worked on the F-16 fighter program, and then spent the majority of my 8-year career working on the F-35 fighter program, doing structural analysis before eventually transitioning into law.
Being a flight attendant for a major U.S. carrier has definitely assisted me with my cases, particularly with one case that I have involving a beverage cart that rolled down the aisle. So I was able to ask questions that other attorneys would not think to ask. Asking those questions did help with laying the foundation of the fact that the beverage cart was not as heavy as the plaintiff has alleged. So I was able to work as a full-time intern while I went to law school at night. At the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, I was able to get the experience and the understanding of what it took to run an airport from the legal side.
In the next few years, many people who've never flown will start flying, particularly in developing economies in Africa and Asia.
Aviation in the Middle East is growing very quickly. It's a strategic global hub that houses some of the world's busiest airports.
The air transport system by its nature is international, it's global. If we don't have harmonization, if we don't have consistency, uniformity, then the whole system can break down.
Clients are looking for support that cuts across jurisdiction, and that's where our international aviation team comes in.
What this means for our clients is at any time, at an emergency, crisis response, or just in terms of risk mitigation, there is somebody, somewhere available to assist.
Clyde Co has become the true one-stop shop, the true go-to firm, law firm, around the world for aviation.
And as aircraft evolve, electric, autonomous, carbon neutral, so too will the contracts, the insurance market, and the financial structures.
We see passenger numbers growing from around 4 billion today to over 12 billion passengers in the year 2050. Cargo volumes are going to more than double during that same period. And so the challenge we face is how can we harness that growth in a safe and secure and sustainable manner.
So as we're flying into this future, whether it's going to be navigating through the turbulence of rising demand or innovation by electric vertical takeoff and landing systems, or opportunities now in commercial space, in space tourism, space travel, financing it, sometimes litigating it, that's where Clyde Co is going to be. We're going to stay on the leading edge for the future, and I'm quite confident that we're going to be very valued partners for generations to come.
Flight changed the world, and through it all, Clyde Co has been navigating risk to help our clients soar.
According to FlightAware, on any given day, there are between 12 and 14,000 aircraft in the sky. 2/3 of those are commercial aircraft, like our clients fly. As a result, this industry is not only dynamic, but it never closes. At Clyde Co, we are going to be able to continue to provide the cutting-edge legal advice that our clients need, not only to navigate the risks of the industry, but identify the opportunities.